Well, we just have to, make sure that we, have a good feeling about A, what we're capable of doing, what our players are capable of doing, and make sure that we invest our time and our effort in those things. And, you see a lot of different looks defensively, and, if you sometimes have a little too much on your plate, you don't have the opportunity to test each scheme, against a variety of different defensive looks. And so it becomes important to be able to pare things down so that you can get enough work on against, taking one scheme against a variety of different defensive schemes. So you just have to have repetition at all the variables that take place, and that's probably as big a concern as we have, is maybe having too much, on our plate going into a ball game and not having it all as well prepared as we need to.
Coach, the guy you're going up against on Saturday, Lincoln Riley, he's the youngest coach in all of FBS. One, have you ever coached against somebody as young as him? And two, what are the things that have impressed you about Lincoln Riley as he's kind of made his rise through the ranks?
Well, I can't tell you that I followed him very, very closely. I I know that in his tenure at Oklahoma that he has been, he's brought a very productive offense to the table. He's really, I think he's matured, his quarterback a great deal and really been very beneficial in his development, which has been, tremendous. Aside from that, I can't tell you that I know a great deal.
I wanted to kind of touch on the play calling there, not the exact play calling itself, but just the process. Now, has that changed since last year you had Dana and Del both, and now just maybe is there more input from you or Andre or Colin during the game?
Well, Andre and Colin assist Dana in play selection. Yeah. I mean, they are informative as it relates to the passing game.
Coach, I was curious what you thought of A.J. Parker and how he did playing nickel for you on Saturday.
Well, he didn't grade out 100% by any stretch. He made some. I thought he made some very fine plays, but he struggled in some cases as well. So it was a mixed bag, so to speak.
Then also with the running backs, they didn't really get involved too much. What's the key to just making sure that they get more involved?
Well, we have to be, more productive with the totality of our offense. We've got to be able to throw it. We've got to be able to run it as well. And when you get 3 and out or 4 and out, there's not very many snaps. You look at the number of snaps we take, and it's pretty limited. Was in that ball game, and consequently, they can't get as many repetitions. Don't have as many opportunities to carry the ball. So it's just a matter of being productive with our offense, being able to move the ball and eliminate those 3 and 4 and out series.
Coach, does the 55-0 loss from a couple years ago, does that serve as a bit of a motivating factor for your players this week, not wanting to have that happen again on this field?
Well, I don't think I'm not interested in our players going in and worrying about how badly they may have gotten defeated and whether or not it's not about limiting the margin of defeat. It's about preparing to go in and play well enough to win a ball game. That's a significant thing for me, most important for me. Now, each individual might be, everybody has their own thoughts, and some players might feel that. I don't know.
Also, just given the way that both Alex Barnes and Justin Stolen have kind of struggled a bit recently, have you given any thoughts to maybe throwing Dalton in there to shift it up a little bit, or you stick with
Well, you didn't hear what we were talking about over here. We just don't have enough snaps. We need to be able to be more productive, whether it's Justin or Alex or anybody else that we would put in there. It's about having enough opportunities to get the ball in their hands more. And yes, we'd love to have Dalvin in there, but it's not that Alex in his 5 carries or Justin in his 3 carries or whatever the number is. It's not that they're not doing well. I mean, it's a collective issue, and it's not just the ball carrier, by any stretch of the imagination. Everybody has contributed towards the fact that we have not been as successful moving the ball as we would like to be.
Sorry. At this point, would you anticipate starting Jesse or Alex on Saturday?
Well, it kind of depends on Jesse and his health.
Okay, but he's potentially an option this
Well, I want to believe that he's going to be able to, but I don't know that yet. We haven't defined that.
Okay.
It's not
and
clear.
After you had a chance to review what Alex did against TCU, what did you like? What did you dislike? What do you want to see from him as the next step?
Well, I just want to see him continue to compete, as well as he can, and be as determined and committed as he has been, which I'm very confident that he will be. I don't have any real concerns about that. I think, it's going to be important for him to, to regain, I say regain, is to have, a level of confidence in his capabilities and understand that he is capable. I mean, he didn't play nearly as well as he had the previous ball game, and once again, part of it that is him, part of it is lies in some other areas.
Coach, I want to ask about Will Gary. He's leading the team in sacks, only 3, but tackles for loss also. How well is he playing right now, especially hitting those backfield things from the interior position?
Well, I think he's playing very well. He's as we've said so many times, he's he's a hard-nosed young guy. Plays hard every snap. He's competitive. He's beginning to use his hands, a little bit better. It gives him a chance to get some pass rush that might provide those sacks. But it's like you say, it's only 3. I mean, it's not like we're knocking the lights out with it. But he's played well both in terms of versus the pass as well as versus the run. I have no complaints about how he's played. Done well. And as I said, we played well up front, and in this ball game we played well up front. I think they had a little less than 100 yards rushing, which they're a good rushing football team, a very fine crew of running backs, and good running quarterback, which I think got, I don't know what he got, 15 yards, 12 yards, something like that against us, although we had that one touchdown run that he got away from us. But, they've played well up front, and Trey has been a part of that.
Coach, for the past several years, one of the bread and butter facets of this team has been red zone efficiency and getting the ball in the end zone when you're inside the 20. A year ago, we were held out without any points inside the red zone 5 times, and halfway through the season, we've been held out without any points 4 times. I was just curious how alarming it's been, just not being able to get the ball in, and what can be done in the second half of the season to circulate that?
Well, what can be done is we just have to do what we do better and do the right things and do them better. And that was a significant element of the ball game the other day. We first and goal on 7-yard line and can't get it in. Get the penalty on the touchdown pass. And, there's a lot of things that contributed to the loss, and it's probably encapsulated in maybe four snaps in the ball game that made a difference of 20, 23 points or so. But if you can't rely on putting the ball up between the uprights all the time when you're down in there. You got to get you can't afford to lose 4 points constantly down there, and that was the case. I mean, we were inside, like I said, 2 times and failed to get any points on the board. And it's got to be better.
On the other side, just how good has Baker Mayfield been this year, and how has he maybe progressed even from where he was a year ago?
Well, I think he's continued to grow. I think he's, his confidence level, you can see, is really become very appropriate. It's been very beneficial for them. His leadership has stepped up. I think what he's always been able to do, and now to even a greater level, is, he has a good vision. He's able to find open receivers. He knows how to go through his progression, has a good understanding of defenses, it appears to me. And part of the benefit is, his offensive line's done a nice job protecting him, and he gets an awful lot of time to make some of those decisions. And of course, he throws the ball well. And I think he's throwing even a firmer ball now. And again, it can't, totally define it because you're watching it on videotape, but it just looks like it's a ball with more velocity than it has been in the past. So obviously, he's gotten a little stronger.
Following up on this question about Mayfield, the way you guys effectively contained Hill last week outside of the one touchdown run, is there any carryover you can take for that going into playing Mayfield, or is it just so much different between the offenses and the players as far as compare?
Well, I think, there is such balance and capabilities for balance in their offense that you have to play so many things. That's not unlike TCU, but by the same token, Kenny Hill, had a little bit better speed than Mayfield does, and Mayfield's throwing for 5,000 yards a game. So it's obvious that you have to be able to defend the pass well. He'll bring it out. He'll bring it down, scramble it. They've got a few runs with him, but they're somewhat sparse. Still have to defend against it. That doesn't change anything there. But then they've got running backs that can play this game. Powerful runners, got good speed, good quickness, good change in direction, and they'll be a faster team in all likelihood than what we've seen. By that, I don't mean certainly it's probably true as far as all out 40 times speed, but from a tempo in terms of the game and how quickly they will repetition offensive plays. They have the capabilities anyway of being, probably faster than any that we've played so far. We'll see.
Coach, Ken beat me to a little Gary, but when you're watching the game, Trent you seem to have a pretty good contact. How do you assess his play against TCU?
Well, Trent has been, not just TCU. He has been very consistent throughout the course of the year. And that's the kind of young guy he is. He's always going to process things well. He's going to be in the right place at the right time the vast majority of the time. He's always going to give you the best effort, tries to be a leader and with our defense. He's just playing very, very well, very consistently.
Bill, a couple of players in particular for Oklahoma in terms of matchup problems and just the kind of player they've turned into. First off, Orlando Brown, who blocks out the sun, is he maybe one of the best offensive linemen you've seen in your time here. And Oklahoma's known for speed on the outside. Guys like Sterling Shepard and so forth from years past, but Mark Andrews seems to be one of the tougher matchup problems for a lot of teams.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I think that's accurate. They do have, this probably will be the best offensive line that we've lined up and played against up to this point in time. And as you indicated, the physicality and the just the physical presence, is a lot to have to work around in terms of pass protection, and that's not the only reason, but part of the reason why they're pretty good. Pass protection team. I think as far as speed on the outside, they lost a little bit to last year, but by the same token, they run well enough. They've got good hands, very competitive for the thrown ball. I think they're good players.
Coach, Oklahoma's only lost this season with Iowa State 2 weeks ago. Have you looked at that game at all in terms of what you can kind of do to make the country a little bit?
Well, we look at every game and, have seen all of them. And I think some things that, that happened to them in the Iowa State ball game and since that time, they worked diligently. They saw the same things, some of the same things in the following week, and they made some corrections that you can see readily on tape to be able to address that. I mean, they're pretty good. Mike does a nice job of, seeing where the weaknesses are and being able to go back and get those corrected, whether it's a little change in schemes or fundamentals. But nevertheless, they've done a nice job of that. But yeah, we've seen Iowa State and all of them. Baylor scored a lot of points on them as well, and of course the Texas ball game was awfully close. So, there's a lot of things to look at.
Coach, your defense has struggled on third down this season, 94th in the country. Is this a concern for you, and what can be done to address that?
What if I were to say, no, that doesn't concern me? I mean, what? Give me a break. Yeah, I mean, third down on both sides of the ball. TCU was 50% conversion rate on third down and fourth down, and we were 12%, so yes, I'm concerned on both sides of the ball, not just on the defensive side. And obviously we let some people off, we let them off the hook. I mean, you take the first series of the ball game, we hold them play one, hold them play two, and number 3 they get 12 yards and get a first down. They come back and do it in that same drive again. A little later on we were a little bit better, but in the first half we were not real productive in that regard. But by the same token, still we in the first half of the ball game, I think, the offense contributed to him. And you go back and look, the offense turns the ball over after a 4 or 3 and out, and then a short punt. We turned the ball over close going in. I think it was on 36-yard line, something like that. So they get a touchdown out of that, and then get a couple of field goals. So, by and large, we played reasonably well defensively. Better than the outcome of the game would indicate.
Last week on offense, a lot of the third down we faced were third and longs. Obviously that made it difficult to convert them. Does that put any more, or how much more emphasis does that put on what you do on first down this week?
Well, first down is always, I mean, when I visit with the people in our program, about down and distance, yes, you can always talk about third down, but, my push is towards first down. If you're on defense and, you can get those very short yardage gains, 0, 1, 2, that puts them, you have a better chance to get to third and long as opposed to third and short. Now, if you're on the offensive side of the ball, that first down is really significant. And, and you can get to 5 or 6 yards, and you're looking eventually at worst case scenario, you're probably looking at third down and short. And, yes, the percentages should be in your favor, on third and short as opposed to third and long, third and medium. So.
I want to ask about Abdul Beecham on the offensive line. What did you like about him? How was he kind of bringing out?
Well, he's had some difficulty throughout the course of the early season, but I thought, in this ball game, he graded out much better. I thought he played better. So I'm beginning to see some movement in his part and becoming a more productive player. So I wasn't truly unhappy with how he played Saturday.
Coach, let me go back to the post game really quick again. You had some things to straighten out, and I was curious, what does that entail in the world of both sides when you're straightening things out?
Well, I mean, when you lose ball games, obviously it's not going to. I mean, you got things to straighten out. You got things that you have to get better at. You've got things that, and when I say get better, I'm not talking about just players. I think us as coaches, myself, all of us have, a number of different things that we have to address and be able to have an honest self-assessment about, a variety of different things, and then be able to, make changes where changes are necessary, or just become better at certain things that we're doing, put more emphasis or less emphasis on certain things. I mean, it runs the gamut. I mean, there's a plethora of things, but there's a lot of stuff, in the game of football that goes on as well. So and it does run the gamut for us right now.
Have you ever been involved, I can't recall, have you ever been involved with another game, such as last Saturday with all the delays and the time element, and how draining does that become?
Well, it truly is tedious, but it's tedious for both teams. I mean, it's equally as difficult for the others, and it's just a matter of having a plan in place, and eventually, you get too many of those things, you run out of plans. I mean, it's we had obviously you want to keep them well hydrated, and you have to put some food out for them. We had meetings in the locker room. We had walkthroughs in the locker room and in the weight room, and then we came up to the upstairs to the meeting rooms and had film sessions, and then some time to relax. I mean, we utilized all of those particular diversions, so to speak, to help pass the time of day. But it was pretty lengthy, and no, I don't remember having one. I remember one or two that we have had here that have been delays, but not as extensive as those.
And I don't know if it gets overplayed. I know we asked about it a lot, but you had mentioned yesterday on the teleconference that you were interested in seeing how the team responds. What's been the response of the team in the last 24 hours?
Well, yesterday afternoon was the first time that I was able to, see and be with them and talk with them one-on-one or collectively, person to person, let's put it that way. Sundays were off except for, some physical recovery work that they had to do. And yesterday I thought it was interesting. I was interested in seeing, exactly how they were going to respond, and I thought it was positive. I thought the emotion or the spirit, to initiate the practice, I thought was good. I think we had a leader in our program, a couple of leaders, step up and do their part, try to play their role the best they possibly could. I thought the practice itself, on Mondays because we got these, rules again, we have to be in shorts, so, it can't be any kind of a physical practice, and you don't get a chance to kind of relieve some of that tension. But I thought the practice was, was productive and good, not without mistakes, but I thought we were, for a Monday practice, I thought it, at least, and I say Monday practice, I mean, I expect all of them to be, as good as they can, but in comparison with previous, I think is probably a little bit better than what we have had.
You talked a lot about Oklahoma's offense. What about on the other side of the ball? What kind of stand-up do you like to see
About the defensive football team? Well, I think, they've got a lot of people that run well. I think they've done a nice job of recruiting to speed, and so you look at their linebackers and they can get where they're going in a hurry. They have two basic approaches, one with an odd front, one with an even front, and you never know exactly which one you're going to get. So there's some enough variety in their defense to create some issues in regards to preparation. Fortunately, we've been able to work against similar defenses in previous ball games. I think they're up front. They've been they've had people have had some success running the football against them, and yet when you look at them, they've got some inside people that, depending on who they put in there, because there's been some change up there. But they've got some guys that can be very physical and can run pretty well. Then I think they have two fine athletes, which would be guys that would be on the perimeter, for them, that run well, react well, and pretty aggressive players as well, but pretty good speed for, guys that are in that, 250, 55-pound category.
So when we lose a football game, fans and media are quick to overreact and suggest 100 changes. The players and coaches do the same thing, and it's your job to calm that down and keep things steady when you have a loss like on Saturday?
Well, yes, I think that's, that's part of the responsibility that, that we have. It's, it's kind of, you just, keep rowing the boat. I mean, that's, if you're going to get the other side, you better not put the oars down. And and I think our players and coaches, truly understand that. I mean, it's easy to, I guess it's easy, I don't know, probably easy to jump in the tank or easy to point fingers and, fault one side of the ball or the other, or fault coaches or fault players, etc. But, I have to do that in order to make corrections, to get corrections made. But, at the end of the day, I mean, they're human beings that make, that they care and they make a very defined effort, to try to do as well as they can. We just have to be able to put it all together, and I've got to define those things that that we need to do in order to make that happen.